thing that I like about this particular seminar is their focus is on, in my mind, the right things. The focus is on getting out there and helping people, which to me is more rewarding than, you know, making $100 million.
Homeowners that are in that situation are, you know, usually at the depths of despair, and if you can be of assistance to them and help them out of a situation or give them some hope and an alternative, that's, you know, it's a win-win for them and for you also.
I like very much Lee's presentation and the way that he uses and the approach, his approach of helping people rather than getting the deed and getting the property and make so much money on the property. Because I'm more like that kind of person of helping.
My first deal was an opportunity where I got to help somebody keep their home. They were about to be foreclosed on. You know, we did some things with him, gave him some money, helped him get back on his feet, helped repair some of the things that were, you know, going bad with his house. And I mean, he's still living in the house. He got himself a job. He got back on his feet, you know, with the money I was able to give him. And I had a profit too.
I went to my first foreclosure and just talked to them around the kitchen table, and they signed I mean, it was easy. It was really easy.
Lee really does a good job in helping you understand that you can help a distressed owner and that you both can profit from that.
Nobody's ever talking about it. You don't read it in any of the books. I've read some other real estate books. Nobody talks about things like this.
His approach is unique. I really like his approach, just to really go to help the homeowner.
Hi there, my name is Lee Arnold, and what you're about to see is a presentation that I did just a few months ago. Now, what I really like about the technique you're about to learn is that not only will it make you a lot of money, but you get to help people at the same time. Now, the best part is it doesn't require any special degrees or licenses or any skill whatsoever, which means anybody can do this. What I want you to do is get something to write with and make sure you take good notes. I also want you to make sure that you watch the entire presentation, because at the end I have a very special offer. So if you're ready, let's get started. Quick question for you guys. Is there anybody in the room who would like to make an extra 125 grand a year, not doing anything differently than you're doing right now? Just a few of you? Have you guys ever noticed that speakers ask really stupid questions? As if somebody's not going to raise their hand to that. Do they have speaker school? Do they? I don't know. Guys, some of you know I do a lot of foreclosure-related deals, and I want to cover some of them with you here today. Now, foreclosure for all of us starts with a legal document being recorded of some kind. So if you would please, what I want to do is have you close your books, because I don't have anything in your books for you. Close those, and I want you to get out something to write with, because I want to do a number of things here today. First of all, I want to give you some marketing techniques to get your phone to ring. Would you guys like to make $20,000 or $30,000 on every deal and not have to make any phone calls or do any? Okay. All right. I want to show you how to do that today. I also want to show you how to create equity when there isn't any. I want to show you how to create win-win situations for homeowners that are about to lose their house to foreclosure. And at the same time, I want to teach you how to make an extra 125 grand a year doing nothing differently than you're already doing. Okay? So we got a lot to cover, so I'm going to go pretty fast, so try to stay with me. Now, in every state, the foreclosure timeline begins with the legal document. Now, those of you that live in judicial foreclosure states, which typically are located on the East Coast, you are going to have your foreclosure begin with a lis pendens filing or a lawsuit being filed by the bank against the homeowner. Okay? For those of you in a non-judicial foreclosure state, your legal process is going to start with a notice of default. Okay? Now, in all states, there's always a foreclosure timeline. There's a period of time from the document being recorded or filed to the actual foreclosure happening. Now, I want you to take the legal document being recorded and the foreclosure. I want you to write that on your paper, write legal document, write foreclosure, and then right in between there, I want you to write the word opportunity. Okay? Opportunity in between those two lines, write that now. Now, as I said, I'm not a big fan of having to go out and market I prefer to have the deals come to me. One of the ways that I do that is every day these documents are being filed at your county recorder's office or your local courthouse. Is anybody currently tracking these leads? A few of you. Are you mailing to them? Okay. Here's the marketing piece that will work better than anything else. You're door knocking, you're working way too hard. Stop doing that. Use this letter. Are you ready? Write it down. Dear homeowner, I'd like to keep you in your property. Stop your foreclosure. Too fast? Okay, again, I want to keep you in your property. I want to stop the foreclosure or the legal action. You won't have to file bankruptcy. You will not have to file bankruptcy. Legal action or foreclosure, whichever works for you. Try both. I prefer legal action personally. It's not as harsh sounding as foreclosure. Okay? Okay, so we're going to keep them in their house. They're going to avoid the legal action or the foreclosure. They're not going to have to file bankruptcy. We're going to lower their monthly payment. And we're going to increase, write this down, we're going to increase their equity position. Okay? So no foreclosure. You get to stay in your property. You won't have to file bankruptcy to do it. You're going to increase the current equity you have in your home. And we're going to lower your payment. Does anybody in here think we can do that? No. Thank you for your honesty. Okay, so this gentleman calls me, and what he does for a living is he's a consultant. So he's a marketing consultant for businesses, and some point in his career he gets some medical conditions, some issues that he needs to deal with, and as a result he can't consult for 6 straight months. Okay, so he calls me up and he has a property that he owes. It's his house. He's got his family living there. The amount owed is $342,400.74. His monthly payment is $3,500 a month. Okay, now. Here's what we have to do. The house in its current condition, in the current market that it's in, isn't worth that much money. Okay? Now this happens all over the country. Does foreclosure happen in every city in America? Yeah. Why does it happen? Loss of job, people get ill, people get divorced. It all happens, doesn't it? Okay? Now this particular gentleman, he owes $3,500 a month, and the house, he can't sell it. But guys, keep in mind that most people that are in foreclosure, they don't want to sell their house. That's not solving their problem. What I gave you is going to solve their problem. So here's how it works. This is a short sale. Now, a short sale is when the homeowner owes more on the property than it's actually worth. The only way you're going to be able to do anything with it is somebody has to be shorted something, don't they? Okay? The way you start a short sale with the lender is you have to make them an offer. Okay? If there's no offer, the short sale process can't begin. Now what a lot of investors, the mistake a lot of investors make and realtors make is they don't compile the package and submit the offer right away. And they're wasting valuable foreclosure time as we're getting closer and closer to the auction. So you need to submit the offer. Now, what do you guys think on a $342,000 mortgage or debt that's owing against the property? What should we offer the bank? Anybody? 83 cents on the dollar. Anybody else? 60%, 70%? Does the age of the mortgage have anything to do with it? Not really. Not really. However, I will say this. If it's a really old mortgage, don't you think there'd be equity in the property? Okay? So you're very rarely going to see properties or new mortgages that are under or that aren't over encumbered. I mean, let's consider what the average consumer does. They go out on 3 weeks every Saturday and they find their perfect dream house, and then they ask us as investors to sell it to them, but increase the purchase price so that their closing costs are paid. Are you guys, anybody familiar with this? So most homeowners, when they're buying these properties, they're over encumbered before they even get started. So if something happens, they can't sell it because it costs about 7.5% to sell real estate, doesn't it? Okay, so they can't do that. What are they going to do when they get into trouble? Well, we've got a short sale to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer the bank on this deal $200,000. Now, I know everybody's looking at me like, you can't do that, you're crazy. I can offer it. What do you think the bank said? Yeah, they gave me the same response you guys did when I showed you what I offered. You can't offer $200,000 on that house. Well, you can offer it, but don't plan on having the bank accept it, all right? Now, and we agreed on $260,000. Now, let's consider the numbers here, guys. The guy owes $342,000, can't sell it. In my opinion, the house isn't worth that. It needs some work, needs some paint, needs some carpet. If he spruced it up, he might be able to get that out of the property, but in its current condition, not going to get it. So the bank agrees to take $260,000. Why would a bank take that big of a hit? I mean, that's a substantial loss to the lender, isn't it? It's $82,000. Why would the bank do that? Banks don't want to own real estate, right? So rather than take it all the way to the auction, they'd rather have something now than something less later. So they're going to work with us. Now, if I buy this property, my mortgage is going to be $260,000, where his was how much? $342,000. His payment was $3,500. What's my payment going to be on this property if my mortgage is $260,000? Okay? My payment's going to be about $2,500. Now, if my payment's $2,500, could I maybe lease it back to the homeowner for $2,750? Am I cash flowing? Yeah. Did I just do the homeowner a really big favor? Apparently you don't think so, so let me show you. He was paying $3,500, guys. He's now paying $2,750. How much savings is that? $70. Now, I don't know how much $750 is to you, but to me, that's a substantial amount of money. Now, to somebody that's losing their home to foreclosure, that's a lot of money. Now, when I buy this property, what happens to the foreclosure? Stops. Does he get a foreclosure on his credit? Did he have to file bankruptcy to do it? No. Did I lower his monthly payment? Did he get to stay in his property, keep his family in the school they were in, not have to move them all over town? Did he get to do that? Now, I made one other promise in the letter. Do you remember what it was? Equity. Now, how in the world am I going to increase his equity position? Anybody? Well, how about this? Let's agree, here's his savings of $750. Why don't we just let him buy it back in 12 or 24 months for less than what he owed? Okay? So in our contract, in our lease with him, what we're going to do is lease it back to the homeowner on an option. And when his credit gets better, is his credit probably a little tarnished after all those late payments? Yeah. The reason he was going into foreclosure, he had some credit issues, obviously. He didn't get the foreclosure on his credit, which is good. But we need some pay history now so that he can reestablish credit and buy the house back. Now, here's what you need to look at. He's buying the house back for less than what he owed when he sold it to me. Is the homeowner happy so far? Now, if it takes him, let's say it takes him 2 years to reestablish his credit, will the house potentially go up in value if it appreciates? Okay, if you're in a market where values are going up, this house might actually be worth more. I still own this house today. I bought this house about a year ago. He still lives in there. He's always on time with his payments. Do you know what that house is worth today? $475,000. $475,000. The reason this works is because he decided to take action, respond to the letter that I sent, he now is living in the property and he gets to keep all that equity, right? Now somebody always says, well, Lee, if he was that close to foreclosure, he's not going to be able to finance it. He won't get the loan. Consider this. How much does he need to borrow to buy it back? $340,000. What did I say the house was worth? $475,000. What's the percentage of loan differentiation there? It's a much better LTV. He no longer has to borrow 100% to refinance it, does he? No, now it's like a 75-80% loan. So this works. So this is a situation where we've taken a property that had absolutely no equity, turned it into equity. Now, will the banks always agree to take losses on what they're owed? No. What do you suppose the percentage is of the banks that will actually do this for you? It's like 45-50%. Now, does it vary depending on where you're at in the country? Yeah. Do you think short sales are going to be more common in California or Detroit? Why? Detroit's a lovely city. There's a lot of auto workers being laid off there, and as a result, there's a lot of foreclosures on the market, a lot of bank-owned properties. It's a big problem. So California, are you going to see many short sales there? Yeah, absolutely. Now, please don't make the following mistake. And guys, I'm going to answer questions at the end, so keep your hands down, please. Don't do this. I had a student call me up, and she said, Lee, you know, I liked what you're talking about, so I went out and I tried it. She said, I found a piece of property. The homeowner was losing it to foreclosure. She owed $350,000, and I offered the bank $200,000. I said, okay, well, it sounds like you're doing what you need to be doing. I said, but let me ask you this question. What's the house worth? And she says, well, it's worth $750,000. If it's worth $750,000 and they owe $350,000, is the bank going to take a loss? No, the bank's thinking, we're going to foreclose on this thing because if we get it back, we can sell it and make some money, right? So don't do that. Now, in our foreclosure timeline, this is an example of a short sale. Now, let's look at the advantages of this deal, okay? When he buys this house back, how much do I make? I paid $260,000, he's buying it back for $340,000. That's $80,000, isn't it? Then why does that say 90? Didn't I say I was making positive cash flow? Okay. Also, in the 2 years, am I buying down principal? Not a lot, but if you consider I'm making $250 a month every month, plus I'm buying down my principal, when he does buy it back, it'll probably be a little bit more than $90,000. Now, the only way this works is if you forget about the profit. Forget the profit, okay? The profit that you're going to make. What I want you to be thinking about is what is the benefit to the homeowner? Okay, so I want you to write these benefits down. Number one, homeowner is going to avoid foreclosure. Just like our letter said, homeowner is going to avoid foreclosure. Homeowner is going to get to stay in the property. Did we save his credit? Yeah, like I said, he had some late pays. It was a little bit tarnished. But for the most part, he didn't get the foreclosure, didn't have to file bankruptcy. His credit is in much better position than it would have been had he let this foreclosure happen. We lowered the payment. We increased the equity position. And number 6, homeowner did not have to file bankruptcy. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I got started in real estate several years ago, I started doing all the traditional methods like some of you maybe have, reading the newspapers, reading through the classified section, looking for motivated sellers. Anybody done that? Okay. Well, I found out that my focus was I want to get rich. I want to make a whole bunch of money. And I can be quite honest with you, I didn't do very well early on because I think my focus was wrong. My focus was not about anybody other than me, my income, what do I get out of this deal. And I'll tell you this, when I found out about this particular program where you get to help people, my income has gone up more than I can possibly tell you about. Okay? Good karma, yeah. What you give out, you get in return. So if your focus is first of all helping the homeowner avoid the situation, forget about your profit. Do what's in the best interest of the homeowner, and you're most likely going to be closing deals. If you go out and you start acting like a piranha on these homeowners, which is what we as investors have a reputation of doing, and it's not us, it's a few bad apples out there doing bad things, right? You guys been seeing all the write-ups in the newspaper about investors going out stealing equity and ripping people off of their home. Don't do that. I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want you to be involved in that. Do this for the homeowner. Now, another deal you're going to see, a style of transaction you will see, is what I like to call equity deals. Okay? Now, equity deals, again, these are pre-foreclosure properties. They're happening before the house goes to auction. But it's a property where the house already has equity. We don't have to short sale it. We don't have to call the bank. We don't have to do any of those things. It has equity. Now, this particular property had a fair market value of $219,900, and the homeowner owed $164,227 and was $15,303 in arrears. Now, I am in a non-judicial foreclosure state where it takes about 4.5 months for a property to go to auction. Okay? Now, if you are the homeowner on this particular property, I already told you it's worth $219,900 as it is. He owes $164,000 and he's in arrears $15,303. Couldn't he sell the property? Would he get any proceeds from that sale? Take $219,900, subtract what he owes, and he'll probably leave closing with $15,000 to $20,000. If that's true, if that could have happened, why then did he call me 2 days before the house was going to go to auction? He waited too long. I don't know what it is, guys, but for some reason, when somebody's going to lose their house in foreclosure, they stop thinking. They stop thinking. And I don't know, I'm sending letters to these folks. I know maybe some of you are. I'm sending that letter I just gave you that says I can help you stay on the property, lower your monthly payment, increase your equity position, stop bankruptcy, stop foreclosure. And nobody calls me. I send out 100 of those letters, I'll get 3 or 4 calls. Now, 3 or 4 calls in direct mail is a pretty good response. Okay? But if you're sending somebody gold in the mail, don't you think they should at least call and say thanks? So what's with these people? Too good to be true. That might be true. But if it were me and I was losing my house and I didn't know anything about foreclosure, I would at least call and go, what's this all about? Can you really do all these things? And if so, how are you going to do it? That assumes you read the letter. That assumes you read the letter. Yeah, you got to get them to open the letter, right? Perfume's a very, very nice thing for letters. Little marketing trick there. If they read the letter, they should call it. I don't get it. Why don't they call? So on this particular deal, he calls me 2 days before the sale. Now, I wanted to do this deal differently. You'll notice at the top it says house purchase before the auction. It was an equity deal with a partner. Now, I didn't really need a partner to do this deal, but I brought one in, and here's why. Every time I'm out teaching these types of classes, people always come up to me and say, well, I don't have any credit, I don't have any money, I don't have a job, so I can't get involved. I can't buy real estate. Does anybody believe that? Do you really have to have credit, money, a job to buy real estate? No. Here's what you do have to have. You have to have a deal. Okay? You have to have a deal. I love it when people come up to me and go, hey, Lee, I've got this great deal. I need about $250,000 to buy it. Okay. Do you have it under contract? No. I actually just saw it. It was on a billboard as I was driving over. Looked like a pretty good deal, though, so I'd like to borrow some money. No. You've got to get it under contract. Unless you have a deal, you don't have anything. I mean, could I stand here right now and sell you a trinket if I didn't have one? Would you buy it? No. Okay? So you've got to have a deal, guys. If you don't have equity, credit, cash, a job, you need to have a deal. Once you have a deal, all you need to be able to make money in real estate is a heartbeat or the ability to fog a mirror. Okay? If you can do that, you're going to be okay. So I wanted to bring in a partner on this to prove to all of you who don't believe that you can actually do real estate when you have nothing. So, what do we have to do to stop the foreclosure right now? Remember, it's going to auction in 2 days. What must we do? Write a check or file bankruptcy. Okay. With the new bankruptcy laws, is there enough time for this borrower to file bankruptcy? It's pretty tight. It used to be you could go the morning of the auction and file bankruptcy and be okay. Now with the new bankruptcy laws, which I'll talk to you about later, you're getting to where you have to go to counseling first. You guys aware of that? So there's not a whole lot of time. This guy can't go down and file bankruptcy. So we need to cure the arrears. Okay? And the arrears are the amount of payments that he's missed, the interest on the money. Because once you go delinquent, it starts escalating pretty quick. So he's missed about 7 payments on this house. He's in arrears $15,303. So we need to pay those off. So I go to an investor friend of mine who had the cash. Now, to make this deal even sweeter, I said, look, I don't want you to do this conventionally. Let's put the arrears on your credit card. Okay? Now, yesterday we talked about getting your credit card limits increased. Do you remember that? Okay? And I'm going to talk to you about that here in a minute. If you were able to get your lines increased $15,000 and you had this available money, can you now do this deal? Okay? So would anybody like me to call them up and say, hey, I've got this deal. Do you want to be my partner? I need 15 grand. Does anybody want to get involved with me? Hey, here's some free money. Do you want it? Nope. No free money. Guys, when we pay off the arrears and take over the underlying debt, we're going to be buying the house for $179,530. What did I say it was worth? $219,900. Now, here's the thing you need to recognize in this deal. Did we go out and get a new loan? No. So did anything go in our name or on our credit? Then how did we buy it? Bought it subject to. We took over the underlying mortgage that he already had. Now, should the homeowner have done this? Yeah. 2 days before the auction, are we providing him with some opportunities, some options here? Now, some people say, oh, you stole his equity. Is that true? No. Does he have any equity if it goes to auction? No. Consider this, guys. If it's worth $219,900 and goes to auction, and most properties that go to auction sell at 70 to 75 cents on the dollar, would he have gotten any proceeds from the sale? No. And here's where I want you to be very cautious. If you're going out and buying deals from homeowners in this position, and you know for a fact, if that house went to auction, they would get proceeds from the sale, you better give them those proceeds now if you're going to take over that deal. Okay? If you don't, you're going to end up in the newspaper somewhere as a scam artist for stealing homeowners' equity. Okay? So let's say on this particular example, he owes $140,000. Would he be getting money from the proceeds of that auction if it went to auction? Yeah. Should you tell him that? Yeah. You need to say, look, here's your two options. You can either let me get involved with you on this deal. I'll come in, write you a check for 20 or 30 grand because that's what you would get if it goes to auction. Okay, that's fair. Or you can just let the house go to auction and you're going to get a check from the proceeds of the sale. Either way is the homeowner getting the exact same thing. Too many investors out there today, guys, are not disclosing what the reality of auction is. The house goes to sale and the homeowner has equity. The remaining cash, the overage from that sale, goes to the homeowner. But nobody's telling them that. Oh, this guy doesn't know anything about foreclosure sale. He's got a ton of equity here. Let's just get the deed and shove him off. No. No. If that's how you practice real estate, yikes. Be honest here, guys. Disclose, disclose, disclose. That's why some people say if you're going to be a good investor, don't be a licensed agent. Because agents have to disclose. And when I hear people say that, it just makes my ears burn. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Your whole thing should be disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. Tell them their rights. The biggest problem with foreclosure, in my opinion, and the reason a lot of people don't want to get involved in foreclosure, is they don't want to be the ambulance chaser, right? I don't want to get involved in foreclosure because it's just ripping homeowners off. Not if you do it honestly and ethically, it's not. It's very highly profitable, not only for you, but for the homeowner. Nobody else is out there telling them their rights. Now remember, I said on the last deal, make sure your first focus is talking to the homeowner and doing what's in their best interest, right? Okay? On an equity deal, when you're talking to the homeowner, you need to be disclosing to them they have equity. If it goes to auction, they're going to get proceeds from the sale. But rather than let the foreclosure go on your credit, let me give you money for it now, and I'll just buy it before the auction. Okay? We've done what the homeowner needed, stopped the foreclosure, and we've helped them out, haven't we? Now in this deal, homeowner calls me up 2 days before the auction and says, look, I don't want any money. All I want is the foreclosure stopped so I don't get it on my credit report. This guy had moved out of the house like 2 weeks after he got his notice of default. How many homeowners do that? A lot. You guys ever driven around looking at your notice of default list, those going to foreclosure, to knock on some doors and they're vacant? You find that interesting? I always wondered, do these homeowners not realize that they have like 4 or 5 or 6 months that they could stay in that house for free? And in some states that have redemptive rights after the auction, they can stay another 6 to 12 months. Nobody's telling the homeowners this. Is the bank going to tell them? Hey, you're not paying us our money. We really wish you would, but just so you're aware, you could probably stay there another 12, 24 months without paying us. Do you guys see the bank doing that? No. So who's going to tell the homeowner? We are. Okay? My opinion is you should be very well versed in bankruptcy law and foreclosure law, not so that you can give the homeowner advice, because we don't give advice. We're not accountants. We're not attorneys. We don't give advice. We can make suggestions. We can have opinions. But what I like to do is I bring the homeowner into my office and I sit them down and I say, look, here's the foreclosure timeline. Here's where your foreclosure started, here's where you sit now, and here's where it's going to go to sale. So the question is, you've wasted all of this time. What are you going to do with this time? Okay? And this time is where we can be doing short sales if there's no equity, or we can be working out deals like this. So on this one, I bring in an investor. I have him put the $15,000 on his credit card, just so I can have this story to tell you. And we take over the underlying loan of $164,227. Now, we have the property. What should we do with it? Because people always come to me and say, you know, Lee, I like the kind of money you can make in real estate, but I really have no interest in managing tenants and toilets. Anybody feel that way? Tenants and toilets. I don't really enjoy it either. But we do have options on this deal. Can we rent it? Yeah. Again, we don't have this on our credit, do we? We didn't have to get a loan to buy the house. We have taken over the existing owner's loan. We still have the $15,000 on the credit card, so if we are going to rent it out, are we going to have to make his mortgage payment and the payment on the credit card? Yeah. I'm not really interested in doing that. My investor says, hey, let's just sell it. So we put it on the market and we sell it. Now, my cut on this deal was $19,000. For those of you in the back, here's the actual check. $19,774.31. Now, you're going to look at the numbers and go, well, Lee, there was more profit in the deal, wasn't there? I sold it just a few months later and profited that. But if you look at the numbers, I sold it for $219,900. I only owed $179,000 on it. That's like 40 grand, isn't there? How come I only got 19 grand? I got half. Now, consider what I had in this deal. Did I put any money up? Did I put any credit up? Did I once mention the fact that I don't have a job? Did I have to have one to do the deal? No. How much did I make? 20 grand. I love it when I call people up and they go, I go, hey, I've got this great deal. I'll bring you in. We'll split half. Well, I want 75%. For what? I brought you the deal. All I did, guys, is I went through the list that's public record, the auction, that list of properties going to foreclosure. It's all public record. All you got to do is take it, send them a letter, and then the phone rings. And then all you got to do is sit down and fix their problem. Now, on this particular deal, we made some good money. I like it. But we did some other things. What did we do? Number 6 on our list of things we do in deals. On this one, again, did we save the homeowner's credit? Yeah. House did not go to foreclosure sale. Even though he called us 2 days before, we had to move pretty quick. But we saved the homeowner's credit. Used none of our own money. Don't have to have money to do this. Helps to know a little bit about what you're doing, but that's not even necessary because you can call people to help you out. So we used none of our own money. We used none of our own credit, and as a result, we had absolutely none skin in the game. Anybody like this deal? Now, at the break, I want somebody to come up to me at the break and give me an excuse or a reason why you couldn't do this deal. One, because there's always somebody in the audience. You can't do that. I can't do that. I don't have good credit. I don't have a job. I don't have any money. No partner. I'll be your partner. Actually, did you know that potential real estate partners advertise in the newspaper every day? Yeah, they're in the real estate section where it says money to lend. Those are real estate partners. If you've got good real estate, they'll lend you money. But you've got to have a deal. Try calling one of those guys up and going, yeah, I see you got some money to lend. I'd like to borrow 100 grand. And they're going to go, well, where's the property located? Nope, just a signature loan. Don't pull my credit. Just give me the money. I'll answer questions at the end, guys. Okay? So again, on this deal, we had a lot of advantages. Now, I just showed you 2 examples of properties that were pre-foreclosure. Okay? And the reason I did that is people get confused. In a pre-foreclosure transaction where you have your redemptive period, there's types of deals there. And where I had you write opportunity, I want you to write this. Write short sale in the opportunity line, and then I want you to write equity deal. Okay? And then I want you to put this note, because I always get phone calls. Put this note. Equity deals do not require the bank's participation. Equity deals do not require the bank's participation. So you don't need to send them an offer. You don't need to call them up and ask them if they'll take less. You don't have to do any of those things, okay? Now, what I find really interesting is that even though we're here a room full of investors, and a lot of us, it sounds like, are sending out those mail pieces, offering to help homeowners out of bad spots, do houses in your market still go to auction at the courthouse steps every day? Why is that happening when we have all of this knowledge and there's so many options and opportunities to help the homeowners avoid foreclosure? Why are they still going to auction? I love this one. People come up to me and say, you know, Lee, I'd love to invest in real estate, but everybody's doing it. So there's no deals left. There's no deals left. Right now in my market, it's really hot, and we have investors from all over the country flocking in to buy up real estate where I live. And as a result, I've got all of these students and customers in my market that are saying, Lee, there's no good deals left. I bought a house just the other day. I got it at auction for $275,000. I sold it for $400,000 3 days later, and I didn't do anything to it. I have not physically been inside that house. We close next week. But there's no good deals left. You can't do this. There's no good deals. There are if you know what you're doing. Now, if a property ends up going to auction and nobody at the auction buys it, what happens to it? Goes back to the bank. And it's called a what? REO. Anybody ever bought one of those? A few of you. REOs aren't my favorite. Why? Because every guru in America, night television talk show guy that has a course says, buy bank-owned properties, that's where all the deals are. So a lot of novice investors go after them. Would you guys believe that I still to this day write offers on every bank-owned property that hits the MLS? Do you know why? You can't get anything you don't ask for. You can't get anything you don't ask for. That being said, will you guys try something for me? Tonight, when you go out to dinner, try this. Okay, before I do this, who's going to try this? Half of you. Okay, here it is. Tonight at dinner, when you're done with your meal and your waitress comes over and says, can I get you some dessert? Here's what you're going to say. Yes, I would like whatever is free on your dessert menu. Okay? Try it. So what you're asking for tonight is free dessert. Free dessert. Now I know some of you are looking at it like, Lee, that's stupid. I'm not going to ask for free dessert. Well, you know what you're not going to get then? Free dessert. Okay? You can't get anything you don't ask for. So on these bank-owned properties, write some offers. What's the worst they're going to say? No. Now, I had a property. It's worth about $125,000. As you can see, it's a real estate owned property in REO. It's worth $125,000. Bank's asking $106,000. Now it's worth $125,000, and the house was in good condition. It had a brand new kitchen. It had tiled floors. It was a good little house. If it's worth $125,000, why is the bank asking $106,000? Everybody say it with me. Banks do not want to own real estate. Okay, we'll try it again. Say it with me. Banks do not want to own real estate. Okay? They don't want them. That's why they'll work with you before the auction in a short sale. They'll accommodate you in an equity deal transaction if you're going to take over the deed or take it subject to. They will work with you after the auction as an REO because they want to get it off their books. So they price them low. Well, I thought that's not a bad deal at $106,000. Should we offer that or offer less? Okay. Let's offer them $90,000. Now, $90,000 is a $16,000 discount over what they're asking. But would you believe this? The bank took that property back at auction for $123,000. So when they priced it at $106,000, they were already taking a discount. Well, now I offer them $16,000 less than that. Guess what the bank said? Yeah. Okay. Bank said okay. Now on this deal, I told you the house was really nice. It needed carpet and paint. Do you think I paid for carpet and paint? Who did? Try this, guys. Run this ad when you have real estate that you need to move quickly. Run this ad. Fixer-upper, lease with option, or for rent, sweat equity for down or deposit. Sweat equity for down or deposit. Okay? Now, how does that work? Well, the homeowner calls you up and says, hey, I'm interested. Well, how does this work? Well, the house needs paint and carpet. It's going to cost about $3,000. So you write me a check for $3,000. I hold it in escrow. You go paint the house, put carpet in it. Once that's done, here's your check. Okay? I don't have to do any of it. Fixer-upper, lease with option or for rent, sweat equity for down or deposit. And obviously, you're going to pick which ad you're running. Are you doing a lease with an option or are you doing a rental agreement? Okay? So you have to pick which one you're going to do. I get more response to that ad. You guys want another little secret for marketing and selling houses quickly? Always leave one room in the house unfinished. Always leave one room in the house unfinished. And again, you're all looking at me like you're nuts. Lee, if you do that, you're not going to get as much as the house is worth. I know. But why would you price your house at the peak of the market when that's what the neighbors are doing? Price it 3 or 4% lower, leave a room unfinished, because every man in America wants to have a reason to go to Home Depot. Doesn't he? Yeah. I specifically like framing in the bathroom in the basement and then not finishing it. It's plumbed, it's ready to go, it's got a door. So when you're walking through the house, it looks presentable, but you open it up and it's just studs and a concrete floor. Homeowner walks through the house and goes, sweet, I'm buying some new tools today. And the wife's going, oh no. Now, again, I did nothing to the house personally. I went in it, looked at it, ran the ad, got a tenant, and I rented it out for 1 year, $8 a month. My payment on the property was $650. Okay, so I bought it for $90,000, put no money into it, got 100% financing on the loan. I did buy this one in my name. Got 100% financing, which means I had no money down on the property. Now, if you put no money down on a piece of property and you profit $150 every month, what's your return on investment? Infinite. I find it interesting when people come up to me and say, you know, Lee, you should really get into the stock market because you can make 12, 13% returns. Wow. You know, you should get into real estate because you can make infinite returns. You put nothing down, you get paid. So, do I have equity in this house? Yeah. So, how much equity do I have in the house? $35,000. How do we present equity on paper? What do we call it? Net worth. Okay? If you have a house that's worth $125 and you only owe $90 on it, you have a new net worth that's $35,000 more than you did the day before you bought it. Okay? So if you buy a lot of real estate at lower than it's worth, your assets go up. And what do banks like to give to people who have lots of assets? Lots of money. Loans. Yeah, the more assets you have, the easier it is to get money. You know why that is? Because if you don't pay them back, they have more of your stuff they can take. Okay? So we rented this one out for a year. We had a positive cash flow of $150 a month. Sold it a year later. Now I'm closing on this house next week. Unfortunately, I don't have a check to show you, but it is under contract, and this house is closing next week. The tenant moved out. So my options at that point were, do I re-rent it or do I sell it? I could have rented it out very easily, but how much equity did I have tied up in the property? $35,000. So do we rent it out or do we sell it? We could have refinanced it, couldn't we have? Could have done that. But instead, I just decided, let's sell it. So close on it next week. Total profit on this deal, $37,000. Now, let's review why we like this deal. Number one, or actually it's number 11 now in our list of positives. We purchased property with no money down. House required no fix-up. I want you to change that to house required none of our fix-up. Okay, we didn't have to do anything. That's my favorite kind. Property rented out in 2 weeks because of the ad that we ran. And I gave you that ad because a lot of people don't like to buy and hold real estate because they don't know how to properly manage it. If you know the ads to run and you know how to get people into the property, it gets pretty easy. Okay? So we rented it out in 2 weeks. which meant we never had to make a payment of our own. We never once had to come out and make a mortgage payment that a tenant didn't give us to pay. Number 14, tenants paid the mortgage for 1 year, and we had no holding costs, no cash required. Now, did we help the bank out on this deal? Yeah, it was an REO. They wanted to sell it. Now, could we have bought this property before it went to auction? How would we have done that? Short sale. Okay, I told you the bank took it back for $123,000, which meant the homeowner owed $123,000 on that deal. Okay? Now, if the homeowner would have responded to our letter, could we have gone to the bank and offered $90,000 and had them accept it like 8 months before it went to auction? Why didn't we do that? Because the homeowner didn't call us. Now, in addition to sending the homeowners letters, I got guys that'll go out and knock on doors for me. They had already moved out. The homeowner had moved out, which I find really sad, because not only did the homeowner move out, they got a foreclosure on their credit. They could have lived in the property for 5, 6, 7 months for free, but they just left. Why? Because they don't know their rights. Don't you think they should teach foreclosure law and mortgage law in high school? Wouldn't that be helpful? Unfortunately, they don't. So as a result, we got all these people going foreclosure. Now, I told you at the beginning I was going to teach you how to make an extra $125,000 a year, right? Let me show you how to do that. How many of you right now in this room live somewhere? Why are some of you thinking about that question? Everybody lives somewhere. You have a house, don't you? Okay, some of you might be renting. Let me tell you, your own home is your biggest asset if you make it an asset. You guys know what an asset and a liability are? What's an asset? Who's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Robert Kiyosaki? What does he say the difference between an asset and a liability is? Assets will feed you. Liabilities will eat you. Okay? So, is your home an asset or a liability? Liability. Everybody thinks your own home is an asset. It can be if you do it the right way. Now, the reason your home is a liability is because who has to come up with the cash to make that mortgage payment every month? You do. Now, let's say that you live in a 2-story house and you and your wife and kids decide to live on the top floor and you rent out the bottom floor and the rent from the bottom floor is more than the mortgage. Is your house now an asset or a liability? Asset, because now it's producing income. Do you really want to live on the top floor with tenants in the basement? No. So how do you make your home an asset when the majority of America has liabilities for houses? Simple. Buy it right. Here's a property that was going to auction. Opening bid was $334,090. It's the opening bid. Okay. Now, this house, and I'm from Salt Lake City, this house sits up in, it's about 4 miles from one of the major ski resorts in the state. It's 6,800 square feet. It has an indoor basketball court. Okay. Now, at the time, my wife and I move every 2 years, and I'm going to show you why, but we move every 2 years. So it was getting to the time we needed to move. So I brought my wife up to the house, we looked at it, and we both decided we could probably live there for at least 2 years. Okay? So let's go to the auction and bid. Now I will tell you this house, in its current condition, would probably appraise for about $475,000 to $500,000 at the time of the auction. Opening bid is $334,000. Now, what do you think we're going to have to bid this thing up to get it? If this house was going to auction in your market, would anybody show up to bid on it? Yeah. Yeah. It's worth $475,000 to $500,000 where it sits. Is that pretty decent equity? Okay, so I get down to the auction, there's all these people, I'm going, oh man, I'm going to have to bid this thing up. I'm prepared now to go to about $400,000 on this property, because even if I do, I still have $75,000 in equitable spread on the deal. Well, they really beat me up that day, and I had to bite a dollar over. And that was it. That was it. Nobody else bid on it. I was the only guy there to bid. Now, when you get that much equity at an auction and nobody else bids against you, do you kind of go, oops? I left there going, what's wrong with this house? I better call the EPA and see what's going on in this place because nobody else bid. But remember, guys, there's no good deals left at the auction, so don't go. Does anybody live in Utah? Yeah, don't go to the auction. There's no deals. No deals. No deals at the auction. If you're not shopping auctions on a regular basis, guys, you're really missing out because you can go down there and cherry pick all day long. You might get bid up. Well, you know what happens if somebody bids you up? Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Now, some states require you to have all cash when you go to an auction. Okay? Other states require that you have a deposit check. In my states, it's $5,000 to bid, the remaining balance within 24 hours. Okay? Now, again, I'm one of these guys that doesn't like to use any of my own cash because the more cash you put into a deal, the lower your return. If you put $100,000 into a piece of property and you make $101,000, what was your rate of return? Pretty bad. That's a bad deal. Now, if you put no money into a deal and make $1,000, what's your rate of return? Infinity. So if I put nothing in, my return is huge. So I want to buy this house and not put a thing in. So I had somebody give me a check, a cashier's check for $5,000. So I used their $5,000 to buy it. Then I called up one of my hard money lenders, and he funded the deal within 24 hours. So now I have no skin in the game. I bought it at auction. I got a great deal. I used none of my own money to buy it, and I funded it within 24 hours. Now, why would a lender give me a loan of $334,091 within 24 hours? Didn't check my credit, didn't ask if I had a job, didn't care. Why did they give me that loan? The house is worth $475,000 to $500,000. What happens if I don't pay him back? He gets the house. Now, everybody thinks that hard money lenders have like this real strict criteria for whether or not they're going to lend you money or not. Do you know how they determine whether you get the loan? They drive up to the property and they go, I could own that. And you get the loan. You get the loan. Because if you don't pay them back, they get the property. And that's really what they're interested in. Any hard money lenders in here? Does anybody know what hard money is? It's money that hurts. It's really expensive. Points and interest and all these things. Okay? Hard money is also usually a very short-term loan, which means to pay him back, what must I do? I have to refinance. Now, if I'm going to refinance, do I have to have good credit, cash, or a job? I do if I'm going to refinance the house in my name. Could you maybe find a credit partner that could bring you in on the deal? Have them put it in their name. You live there, sell it in 2 years, you split the profit. Did you guys know you can rent your credit? You know you can rent out your credit? I don't know about you, but in my city, there's billboards on the side of the highway that say, I made $27,000 using my 720 FICO score. You know how they did that? They found guys like me and guys like you and ladies like you that are investors who maybe had taken on too much debt at one time, and as a result, their score dropped. So they just went over and found somebody with good credit, high FICO scores, and said, hey, I've got this great deal. Why don't we put it in your name and we'll just split the profit? So again, you don't have to have credit. You don't have to have a job. You have to have a deal. It all starts with a deal. And in my opinion, and this is only an opinion, the best deals are motivated sellers. If you're going to make money in real estate, you've got to find a motivated seller. Who's more motivated than somebody that's going to lose their house to foreclosure? Nobody. So let me ask you this question. If foreclosure is the best place in town to get a good deal, why do we continue to go through the classified section of the newspaper looking for motivated sellers? I don't know. I don't know. In every city in America, in fact, my wife and I, we went up to Boise, Idaho, to go to a concert up there. And I like to see if I can make my business trips profitable. So the concert was on a Tuesday. We drove up Monday morning just to kind of hang out in Boise. It's a fun town. Good restaurants. And I went to the county recorder's office. And I pulled up 3 houses, got into my car, typed them into the GPS, and drove to the houses. Knocked on the doors. Lady comes out, talks to me. She's very nice. She owes $131,000 on her property. She's going to foreclosure sale. She's going to lose the house. I knock on the door and say, hi, my name is Lee Arnold. I'm a real estate investor. I noticed your home was going to go to auction pretty quick here. Did you know that you can stay in the property, lower your monthly payments, increase your equity position, all of these things? Well, I told her all that, not realizing what the house was worth. It wasn't a nice house. So I thought $131,000 was probably a little pricey. Well, as I get her name and number and set up a meeting for the next week, I go across and I pull the flyer out of the house across the street. $375,000. So what is this house worth if you fix it up? $375,000. She owes $131,000. Now remember, I told you, be honest, be ethical. I did not buy the house from her that day, but I did help her get it refinanced, so it stopped the foreclosure. She had enough equity that she could refinance that house regardless of her credit. It did lower her payments, and as a result, foreclosure stopped, credit was saved, no bankruptcy required, didn't have to move out, kids didn't have to go to a new school. Now, I didn't make any money on that deal. So why did I do it? Because your first priority here, guys, is to the homeowner, never to yourself. If it's to yourself, you're not going to make any money. And I'll tell you what, self-promotion is great, because if you go out and help somebody as a goodwill gesture, it will come back to you. I had a woman who was a cashier at one of the big box stores, and I won't tell you which one, but it was a very prominent store. Well, she called me up on a letter that I had sent her, and I was able to help her avoid the foreclosure, get out of the situation she was in. I didn't make any money on the deal. But within the next 2 weeks, I had 4 of her associates call me. They were in the same situation. Yep. I was at Arby's. I'm thinking Arby's. Anybody? I thought it was funny. I go to Arby's. The cashier there, I'm talking to her. And she sees my card, and she says, oh, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a real estate investor, and I help people avoid foreclosure. She said, oh, can we talk? Like, okay. So we met the next day at my office. We talked. I ended up buying her house. She still lives there. And as a result, I bought her sister's house and her kid's house. Maybe she'd eat at Arby's. I don't know. Apparently a very good place to get leads, okay? But it was about helping the homeowner. That's why I got those deals, because I was able to help them out. And guys, if that's your focus, you're going to make a lot of money. If your focus is, I want to make a lot of money, you're not going to do really well. Sorry. I mean, you can be the greediest person on the planet, but that will come back. That will come back. So give some goodwill, help people out. That's what this is all about. But getting back to this now, I just bought this house, and as I told you, when you borrow hard money, you got to pay it back, which means I either need to sell the property or refinance the property. Now, for me, I was looking for some tax benefits of owning the home so I could write it off. So I decided I'm going to refinance this one in my name. Now, I bought the house, I went in, I cleaned it up. Within 3 weeks, I repainted it, I put in new carpet. Do you have any idea what carpet costs for 6,800 square feet of house? A lot. I was like, geez Louise, that's expensive. So my total fix-up costs on the house were about 25 grand, which I also borrowed from the hard money lender. There was enough equity there that he's like, okay, here's some more money. Because the more money he gives me, the more he can charge on what? Points, interest. The more money he gives me, the more money he makes. So he wants to give me lots of money. He's very well collateralized here. Now, when I cashed out and refied, I decided I'm going to take some money out with it. So I left closing with a check for $79,146. And because I always have skeptics, I brought the check. And for those of you in the back, $79,146.55. And here's my favorite part. It's made out to me. Now, if you buy a $375,000 home, pull out 80 grand, who's making the mortgage payments for the next 2 years? You are. The house. The house. The house is making your mortgage payments. Have you ever thought about buying a house so that it could pay you to live there? I find it interesting that a lot of people have home equity. What's that all about? Home equity, pull that stuff out, put it to work, start getting returns on it, and have the returns pay the mortgage. Now your house is an asset. So I pulled 80 grand on this house, and I'll tell you, in 2 years of living in this property with my wife, that $80,000 more than covered the mortgage payments. I didn't have to go to work and earn one dime to live in that big house and be able to go down to the basement and play basketball whenever I wanted. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I had a court in my home. Now, as I told you, we move every 2 years. So, in May of this year, we actually ended up selling the property. And I told you when I bought it, it was worth about $475 to $500. Well, because I had landscaped the yard, did some improvements to the property, when I sold it for $650,000. What did I pay for it? $334. I sold it for $650. So I got a check for $107,498.30. Would anybody like that check? Would anybody like me to just put your name on it, take mine off and put your name on it? Now, here's what's really disgusting about this whole deal. What did I do to make that much money? I did what everybody in America is already doing. They're buying homes and they're living there for 2 years or however long. Okay? So the total profit on this house, just for living there, $249,644.85 in 2 years for living in a house. Not to mention the house paid me to live in it. Now, I told you I would teach you how to make $125,000 extra every year doing something you're already doing. Buy a house that's got some spread, guys. Here's the advantages on this one. The bank avoided taking the house back. I made $124,822 a year just for living in the house. And here's the most beautiful part of this whole deal. I didn't pay any taxes on the $249,000. How come? I lived there for 2 years. The IRS says if you live in a piece of property for 2 years, you and your spouse can take up to $500,000 in profit tax-free. Now, what I find really interesting is I make more money in 1 year living in my house, not paying any taxes, than most people make all year. Paying taxes. Yeah. If you make $124,000 at your job, really, what are you netting? 75, 80? Let me throw out this suggestion to those of you that still continue to get up every morning and drive in traffic to work and work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week or more, sitting in traffic, taking two weeks off a year, not spending much time with your family or your friends. Let me throw this out here. Quit your job, buy a big house. I'd love to make this more difficult, guys, but it's really not. Tax-free. Does anybody else in here move every 2 years? Is anybody going to start doing that now? Okay, good, good. My wife and I have moved every 2 years the last 7 years. That doesn't make any sense, does it? We are now currently in our 4th house, so 8 years. Interestingly enough, I still own the first one. So you can make a lot of money doing this, guys. And as a result of this, what I've done is I've started traveling around the country and working with people to help them start making this kind of money. Here's a person who is currently working with me. He goes on to say, "Dear Lee Arnold, thank you for your program. When I began investing full-time in January of 2005, I had been out of college 1 year, had 1 home, and made $40,000. He says, in the last 20 months, I have bought over 15 homes personally and have been able to help my and many others. My net worth goes up in 6-figure increments every couple of months, and I make 5 to 6 times what I did 2 years ago." Here's my favorite part of the letter. I've highlighted it. It says, "The best part is I get to help people out of bad situations." Now, I don't know about you, when people ask you what you do for a living, what do you tell them? I help people. Okay? You talk to other people. I'm a CPA. I'm an accountant. Really, you do all that work to make that little money? Why not just help people out? I'm a people helper. Lee, how come you make money? I help people. That's all this guy's doing. Here's another one. Gentleman by the name of Jesus. He says, "Dear Lee, I'm writing to let you know how much I have learned with your course. I've highlighted my favorite part." He says, "I'm happy to say that I was able to leave my job as a collections agent and pursue real estate investing full time. There's nothing more gratifying than not having a boss breathing down your neck and still have to worry about having enough money for bills and having enough money to take a vacation. Once again, thank you for all you and your staff have done for me. Your training has been invaluable and worth every penny. Me and my family cannot thank you enough for the freedom your course has given us. Sincerely, Jesus Fernandez. Okay, Jesus was able to quit his job in collections. Now, he was collecting from people who weren't paying. Now he's helping the same people stay in their house. And he's making more money. He's got no boss. Here's one I really like. Hey Lee, it's been a while since the last update I gave you. First of all, just wanted to say thanks for having me go to your workshop last year. Best money I ever invested. He goes on to say, I was a 22-year-old I knew of that had their house. He bought his first house when he was 22, lived in it. I actually helped him buy it. It was a bank-owned property. When he bought it, he had $40,000 worth of equity. So can you imagine when you're 22 years old, you have no equity, no money in the bank, you buy a house, you're now $40,000 richer than you were. He goes on to say, the past year I went from making 12 bucks an hour to having a net worth of 130 grand. He's bought 4 houses now. He said, my dad would be sad if he knew I made more money than him. Anyways, just wanted to get in touch with you and let you know how I've been and how much I appreciate the information. $120,000 net worth. He's 23 now. 23 years old. What did he do? He bought some houses. How did he buy them? He helped people out of bad spots. 2 of the houses that he owns, the owner that was losing it still lives there. So now, because he took the information, and rather than buying houses at auction and kicking people out of their homes, we go out and we help people stay in their properties. So some of you are looking at me like, why is he telling us this? Because I can't be in every market in every city in America. But if you guys will learn the information and start telling people about it, how many people can we help avoid losing their home to foreclosure this year? A lot. And I don't know about you, but I sleep very well at night. Because I know that because of me, there's a lot of people still living in a house they really shouldn't be living in. Because I helped them out. So I want you guys to take this information, go into your marketplaces, buy as many properties as you can, and help the people stay in them. Okay? One last testimonial. This is from a friend of ours, Dr. Steve. No questions, just a minute. A friend of ours, he came to the workshop just a few months ago. He sent me an email. He says, hey, Teach, hope this email finds you and Jacqueline, that's my wife, well. Says, number one, he said, want to bring you up to speed on deals we're currently working on. He says, number one, a foreclosure sale where the after repaired value is $160,000, they owe $132,000. They're doing a short sale with the lender $87,856. If they get it, is that a pretty good deal? Yeah. Deal number 2, we just closed a deal taking over a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo in excellent condition. He bought it subject to, he took over the underlying lien, where the fair market value was $185,000. They currently owed $162,000. So he got some margin there. I love this part. He is painting the apartment because Marcia, that's his wife, didn't like the colors. So he goes to somebody that's about to lose their house to foreclosure and says, tell you what, I'll cure the arrears, I'll bring your mortgage current, but you have to paint it and then give me your house. So I painted it, moved out. He now owns the property. Number 3, we're offering to buy the first mortgage on a piece of property. We've been talking about notes here this weekend. He's offering to buy the first mortgage of $270,000, which is closing. They owe $235,000. We also bought the second mortgage. And I'm going to teach you guys tomorrow how to do this. But he bought the second mortgage of $64,000 on a house going to auction. Bought the second for $12,000. Now, if you have a $64,000 mortgage and you pay $12,000 for it, is that a pretty good deal? Anybody want to know how to do that? All right, stay tuned. Come back tomorrow. Okay? Now, one thing I didn't point out here, guys, at the very beginning, he says, again, hey, Teach, hope this email finds you and Jacqueline well. And congratulations on learning you're going to have twins. Thank you. Thank you. My wife and I are very excited. Now, let me tell you something, guys. Several years ago, when I was bagging groceries, I never thought I would be where I am today. And quite honestly, I don't have any more business being where I am than you guys do. I was a bag boy at a grocery store. And I'll tell you what, when my wife and I got pregnant, or when we got married, we tried for years to have kids. And we went to the doctor, and they said, don't know. He said, we can help you out. There's some things you can do, but they're very, very, very expensive. Now, if I was still begging groceries at a grocery store, I wouldn't be up here standing here today telling you I'm going to be a daddy in 3 months with twins. It's only because of real estate and helping other people that I can stand here and tell you that. And the thing I love about it is I didn't have to rip anybody off. I didn't have to take over and steal people's equity or their home or any of that stuff. I did it legitimately, honestly. I made my purpose in life to help other people first, make money second, and only because of that can I again say we're pregnant twins. We're very excited about it. We're loving it. Now, for you guys, if you don't have a reason to get rich for yourself, just make your reason in doing this to go out and help people. That's all it's about. Just throw out some goodwill there, help people out. And if you do, like I said, you're going to make a lot of money. But don't make that the purpose in doing it. What are you going to do if your kids come to you and they, for whatever reason, can't get pregnant? And they say, hey, can I borrow that much money? And you go, do this, guys, and you'll be able to write them that check. Better yet, rather than giving them a fish, why don't you teach them to fish? If you got kids, grandkids, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, don't tell them I'm a real estate investor. Show them what it is you're doing. You saw in one of those testimonials where he says, because of your course, I've been able to help my friends and family buy real estate too. So again, share the wealth. Make it about helping people first. But in addition to helping people avoid foreclosure and losing their home, why don't you teach some people what you know, what you've learned, and you'll be really successful.
Lee's approach is totally different than anybody else's I've ever heard, and it works.
This should be for everybody, actually, because a lot of people are having problems with foreclosures nowadays, and they don't know how to save their own properties. And this knowledge is terrific for people to, to help people actually, and themselves, like their families, their community.
It really helps take a lot of guilt away from a lot of people taking these courses to feel that they're taking advantage of people, whereas actually we turn it around and we're actually helping people, and he helps us put it down in writing to the people we want to help also, and to show to them that we are really doing things in their best interests.
They have compassion, it's genuine, and although they probably do make money, and I of course would like to make money, the underlying desire is to really help the person that may be in a difficult time.
I've made more money in the last 12 months through this organization and this process than I ever thought was possible. And I do it, with good character, good morality, and, I can sleep at night, where a lot of other investors and a lot of people can't, because some of the things they do.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I wish I would have taken this 2 years ago.
I hope you enjoyed that presentation as much as I enjoyed giving it. And people often ask me, they say, Lee, aren't you creating your own competition by training others how to do these techniques? And the answer is simply no. There's just too many foreclosures happening all over the country that I can't be in all places at all times, which is why I need your help. What I'd like you to do is call the number on your screen, talk to one of my trained consultants who are going to give you all the tools that you need to start making a positive difference in your community today. Now, I already told you, these techniques will make you a lot of money, but you're also going to be helping people, and that's what makes this so great. So if you're ready to get started, call the number on your screen. My staff and I look forward to working with all of you.